Well, here we are, the last book in the series. Usually in a series like this is where the story gets the most intense. And boy, does it get intense! Mockingjay was published in 2010. It takes place almost immediately after the events of Catching Fire. The main focus here is on the rebellion and how they're trying to stir up the population to go to war against the capital. I'll be getting more into that in the analysis. Katniss and crew are currently living in the underground of District 13, along with other members of other districts, who are trying to escape the horrors of war. Apparently, in District 13, everyone has to follow a schedule of their day, and Katniss hasn't really been doing that since she's been trying to recover from the loss of her home. The book actually starts with Katniss looking at the ashes of District 12. So the rebellion is run by the president of District 13, Elma Coyne. Coyne, Plutarch, and several other heads of the rebellion want Katniss to be the face of the rebellion, or the Mockingjay. Katniss agrees to do it on a few conditions. Number 1, Peeta, Johanna, and Obaria and Annie are to be pardoned. 2, Prim is allowed to keep her cat, since Katniss found him in the ruins of District 12. And the big one, number 3, Katniss gets to kill President Snow. Coyne isn't a fan of the first condition, and she insists that they all have a trial, but she is a big fan of the third option. She doesn't really care much about the second option. Coyne eventually relents, but says publicly that if Katniss does anything wrong, none of the victors she listed will have any immunity. Well, it seems our main protagonist and the head of the rebellion don't see eye to eye. Actually, Coyne wanted to rescue Peeta since he's better at words than Katniss, but everybody else thought Katniss would be the better choice. Since Katniss isn't good at acting for rebel propaganda, the crew decides to send her out into the real world to get some actual feelings as their footage. So they send Katniss, Gale, and a few others to a hospital in District 8. Everything seems to be going well until a raid starts. Haymitch, who is in a hovercraft and communicating to Katniss via earpiece, insists that Katniss get out of there, but Katniss refuses since she feels she's not doing anything to help in battle. The battle is won, and some really nice footage is obtained and sent to TVs in all the districts. Some more parts are shot, but it seems the Capitol is shooting some propaganda of its own. These appear to be interviews of Peeta, but he doesn't look right. Thankfully, BT, ever the hacker, manages to get some of the rebel propaganda in, and Peeta sees it. He still doesn't look quite right, but he does manage to warn Katniss and the others of an oncoming raid. The people of District 13 are prepared for such a raid, and Peeta's warning got everyone prepared. This is what prompts Coyne to finally send a rescue to grab Peeta and the other victors being held by the Capitol. Well, rescuing Peeta was easy. Too easy. Peeta had been brainwashed to fear and try to kill Katniss. In fact, Plutarch and Haymitch believe that if there wasn't a rescue mission, Peeta would have been sent to District 13 anyway. Like, he likely would have just wandered in. Well, Peeta needs to be reprogrammed back to the way he used to be, so the medical team is working on that. While that's going on, Finnick and Annie get married, and it's being broadcast to the districts to raise some morale. Katniss is even told to enjoy herself, since it would raise morale even more. Also, Gale and BT are coming up with all kinds of weapons to help the war. Now, while the propaganda videos and such are nice, Katniss still feels like she's not doing enough. So she and Gale are sent to District 2 to convince them to join the rebellion, as currently that's the only district that's sided with the Capitol. They plan to drive the remaining forces out of their mountain hideout through an avalanche. Gale originally wanted to destroy the Underground Railroad and let them suffocate, but Katniss didn't think that was a good idea since the people in that mountain are human beings who deserve a chance. Well, this actually helps, since now that all the districts are united, the only thing left to do is take on the Capitol. Katniss, Gale, Finnick, and some others are sent into the Capitol to shoot some propaganda videos while the actual battle is being fought. Eventually, Peeta is sent to join them while he still hasn't fully recovered. Now, why would Coyne send him in? Katniss and crew find out that this safe neighborhood that they're shooting at is in fact not safe, and one of the commanders is fatally wounded and puts Katniss in charge as he's dying. Then the crew escape another few explosions and are presumed dead. Coyne then releases a video containing a eulogy about Katniss to rile up the rebels. Clearly, Coyne did not intend for Katniss to return alive, which is probably why she sent Peeta, who is still not fully recovered yet, to finish the job. Now, Katniss is really mad now and really wants to infiltrate the inner parts of the Capitol to kill Snow. She lies to the crew and tells them this is what Coyne wanted her to do secretly, but even after she confesses it was a lie, the team stays with her, even after several deaths, including Finnick's. The team finally reaches the mansion, but there's a crowd of children right at the front doors. Snow is basically using these children as shields. While the team is planning an infiltration strategy, a hovercraft with a capital seal comes by and drops parachutes that contain bombs right onto the crowd of children. Now, why would they do that? Rebel medics come to the children, and among them is Prim. Then the rest of the bombs go off. Prim is killed, and Katniss is badly burned from the explosion. She is very, very depressed, and learns that the rebels have taken the capital and wants to grant her desire to kill Snow in a public execution. Katniss wanders into Snow's garden, where she finds him in the room with roses. She just wanted to grab one rose to put on Snow's lapel so she can shoot it. She didn't really become a fan of roses during all of these events. Katniss and Snow talk for a bit, and Snow reveals that he was not the one who called the shots to drop bombs on those children. Coin actually orchestrated that so that Snow's remaining followers would turn against him, and it's likely Prim was sent on the front lines as a medic because Coin knew Prim would be killed and it would break Katniss, thus putting Katniss at her command and neutralizing her as a threat. Now, Katniss doesn't want to believe it, and I wouldn't either, honestly, but Snow reminds Katniss that they promised not to lie to each other. Coin didn't want to go with the ideal government that was planned. She just wanted to take Snow's place. She even says later that she wants to have one more Hunger Games, but with the Capitol's children. Katniss also remembers a certain strategy that Gale and Beetee came up with that resembled what happened with Prim and those children. During the execution, Katniss doesn't shoot Snow. She shoots Coin dead. It's not clear how Snow died. He was either trampled to death by the crowd or died from a disease he already had. The man was dying already, so... After shooting Coin, Katniss immediately tries to kill herself, but Peeta stops her and she's arrested for what she's done. The next several scenes include Katniss going through a mental breakdown and trying so hard to leave this world. During these events, the commander from District 8, Paler, is elected president, and Katniss is acquitted by reason of insanity. She's sent home to District 12. Hey, wait. Isn't it destroyed? Yes, but the Victor's village is still standing. Katniss and Haymitch go home. Gale remains in District 2 since he got a good job there. And Katniss' mother remains in District 4, putting her healing skills to good use. Eventually, other natives of District 12 come home and start rebuilding it. Peeta comes home too, completely recovered. While he no longer wants to kill Katniss, we all know that neither of them will ever be the same again. Katniss even realizes that she does love Peeta. Together they make a book, preserving the memory of those who died. They still have PTSD from everything that's happened to them, but they're there for each other. Katniss and Peeta eventually marry and have 2 children. The Hunger Games are abolished, but they are still talked about in school. Katniss still has physical and emotional scars from everything she's experienced, and she dreads the day her children learn how they really contributed to the war. To help herself feel better, she reminds herself of every good thing she has seen someone do. And that's right about where the book ends. Alright, let's go to the analysis. I got a lot to say about this. First of all, I want to get this out of the way. Usually when you're reading a book that involves the protagonist taking down the big bad government as part of the rebellion is usually painted in a heroic light, making it clear that they're the good guys. However, here, it's very different. The rebellion is trying to take down the government that created the Hunger Games, yes, but there's more to it than that. Coin's literal plan was to use Katniss to rile up the districts and unite them against the capital. Once Katniss has served her purpose, she's not needed anymore. Katniss is not a fan of being used, and she makes that clear. She doesn't like the rebellion. She knows what they're doing is for a good cause, but she doesn't like how they're going about it. This is all a good look at who the real enemy is. I wish more stories would go over how there's evils in the rebellion as well. It's not just a perfect force. There's evil on both sides. Also, the differences between living in the districts and living in District 13. Living in the districts did have some restrictions, not to mention the Hunger Games, but everyone was able to make the most out of it, and they had entertainment in other forms. In District 13, everyone was super disciplined and had to follow a specific schedule assigned to them every single day. The children are described as being so starved for entertainment that even the smallest game gets them excited. Then there's another thing I want to touch on. The government ideals. The original plan was to give each district a voted representative that would answer back to the president. Coin just wanted to take Snow's place as the ultimate ruler of Panem to keep the status quo. She was going to bring back the Hunger Games. I don't think she would have stopped with just one Hunger Games on the Capitol's children. No, she probably would have done more, and the same thing would have happened all over again. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I've met so many people who are upset that Katniss ended up with Peeta instead of Gale. Even I was pretty mad for a while. But reading this with a new lens helped me see why. Gale knew that it was his idea that had killed Prim, and Katniss had told him that he had to take care of her family. He felt awful. It doesn't say explicitly that Katniss blamed him, but she did. There's a little line of dialogue where Katniss and Gale are talking about what happened, and one specific line says, "I couldn't forgive him. I couldn't say the words." She wanted to. She really wanted to say those words, but she couldn't. And that was the last time they ever spoke, as far as I know. Well, he wasn't the one who did the deed. He came up with the idea. Plus, she felt he didn't balance her out. Peeta did. And yes, you can complain all you want about how wrong I am. But take my advice and read it a second time with a new lens. Besides, Katniss and Peeta had been through so much together that it was only a matter of time before they ended up together. Overall, this is a very intense finale. I thought it was fine. I didn't like how the rebellion was portrayed, but maybe that's for the best to show that even among the supposed good guys, there's evil within. There were 2 film adaptations of this book. This was back when everyone wanted to be like Harry Potter and give their final book-to-movie adaptation 2 parts to get everything. The problem with that is it didn't work well for Mockingjay. The reason being is that most of the book is Katniss registering everything mentally. Even during the last several scenes when she's going ballistic, it's all internal, not external. I'd recommend this for ages 16 and up. It gets really violent. It's a war zone for crying out loud. Not to mention all of the death that happens. It's not pretty. Plus, like I said, there are more internal thinking moments than external action moments. It might be a little hard to grasp at first. This book ended the series nicely, and that's what's important. I don't think it would be wise for a sequel series to be made of this, especially after 12 years of the series ending. Seriously, there are other things that could be written. Well, I'll see you all next week for the series analysis. Happy reading! You'll break at some point. You always do. I'll always be there inside your head.